Welcome to Wealth Plan TV. Today we're looking at estate planning. Previously we've defined estate planning as the orderly and cost-effective distribution of estate upon death. And certainly it is that. But what I wanted to focus on this week is how to get your affairs in order to facilitate smooth estate planning, and that actually has to happen when you're alive. Having things organised well enough to be understood when you're not around requires a high level of organisation. Let's have a look and see what's required. To make things simple, we'll firstly look at what items need to be organised, then we'll seek to make all this information easily understood, and finally we'll give some thought to how these items should be organised. So, what needs to be organised? Firstly, the obvious: a will, a power of attorney, funeral information. Do you want to be planted or burnt? Do you want a church service? Or what hymns do you want? And finally, any documentation that you've already organised, so prepaid plots, whether you've got any funeral arrangements in place already. The next information you need to assemble is information about your financial life. Any insurance policies you have, any investment products, superannuation, where your savings accounts are, do you have any bank accounts? In fact, any information at all about your money, where it's kept and how it can be accessed. Then we'll need information to be stored for the people who will be looking at this upon your death about your investment life. Do you have any investment properties? If so, where are they? Are they rented? Who are the agents? Are there any contracts in place? All this type of information. Do you have any direct investments? Have you put money into a company at any time? Are you a director? Do you have any director's obligations? You can see that really all information about your life is incredibly important here. I won't go on listing all the possibilities, but you do get the picture. Those reading this information upon your death will only know what you've told them. I'm sure they might be able to find it, but God, it's going to be difficult at a time that's stressful for them. The next information you might need is on your business life. Do you own a business? What's the business structure? Where are the memorandum of understanding for the business? Where are the trust deeds? Are you part of a share scheme at work? Or anything else that relates to individual ownership of shares or businesses? And finally, important documents. You mightn't put these in one place, but where they are needs to be noted. So things like birth and marriage certificates, property deeds, home loan details, leases. Do you lease a property or are you leasing a property? Your taxation records, insurance policies we've mentioned, but really any other documentation that you think would be important to be administered or easily found if you weren't around to help. Okay, we've done the first bit, what needs to be organised. Now some thought about how to organise that in a way that can make it easy for others to understand it. Remember, you're not leaning over their shoulder and saying, no, it's not like that, it's like this. So let's start with insurance. Grab all the insurance policies that you have, put them in one place, and then create a schedule. The schedule might look like this. This is mine, it's nice and coloured. Here you can see that we've got the type of policy, the provider, contact details, and what sums of insurance are. So you can see on my insurance plan that we've got, well, John, income protection, paid to age 65 with various waiting periods. It's nice and colourful. The colour isn't important, the details are. Here are investment structures. And you can see here that for John and Jane, we've got a super fund. It's a self-managed super fund. It's managed through a Macquarie cash management account. It's got 2 ComSec accounts. It's also got unlisted shares and a Colonial First Choice fund. And in this information there's 2 trusts for the children, one for John Jr. and one for Jane Jr. and what accounts are associated with that. The affairs I'm showing here are quite complicated, but look, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. If your affairs are more simple, it makes it more easy to understand. Here's an example of a business structure. There's the family with John Jr. and Jane Jr. and Jane and John. They've got a joint account with Bendigo. Jane's got an account with CBA and John's got an account with Westpac. It could be more useful also to add account details there, but just remember that if you're keeping this information, it also has to be up to date. Additionally, on this chart, we have a business account One is a sole trader, and we've got a property investment. So here we're showing property investments. 2 property investments are owned within an investment trust, one in Swanson Street and one in Queen Street. And one is owned individually, and that's a La Trobe Street apartment, and they're all through a line of credit. There's also a family business. You can see what I've chosen here is a complicated structure to show you. I hope your affairs aren't as complicated as this, but if they are, it makes the necessity to record it in this fashion even more important. I've been really surprised during my advice career. Whenever I've put charts together of this type for clients, they're always amazed because they tell me it's the first time they've really understood their affairs. So I guess that we're talking about this in terms of estate planning, but the truth is you should be doing this anyway. Okay, finally for this section, how we organise this information so it can be used. I suggest an estate planning folder like this one. Even if you've got no intention of dying, having all your information in one place is good. Just look at the headings across the folders. We have a final letter, we'll come back to this. We've got structures, we've got locations. Let's have a look at this one. As you can see from this schedule, not everything is in the folder, but this information makes gathering all of the information more simple. So you can see here that we have finance records with the accountant, asset register with the accountant, super trust deeds in the locked filing cabinet, family business again in the locked filing cabinet. It just really has to show you where we are keeping this stuff. Okay, in this folder we have wills, powers of attorneys, insurance policies. Now this is my folder. You can have anything you want in your one. Let's have a look at the last and final letter. It's a nice thought that you can give your parting words to those who you care for. I think the last and final letter should go into 2 components. I think it should give a little bit of information first. So here's an example. Look, you're reading this letter after our passing, and I wanted to let you know how dearly we love you both and how we cherish our life's journey together. Remember, in these hard times, the last thing I would want for you to argue over little stuff like possessions and money. I want your continuing relationship to be above those things. I also need to leave you with some practical guidelines, and there follow some guidelines about how to use the plan. You can list on this final letter personal information that would be just for the people who are being left behind. I think that important for me always is, if things are unsaid, don't worry about them, assume they're said and understood. I've found in dealing with people, their major regret is not saying to their dad, Dad, I loved you, I thanked you for doing that. Relieve your relatives from that strain, tell them that it was understood anyway. But hey, it's your letter, you can do what you like with it. Look, I guess it's possible that all the information we've been speaking about in that segment is available to people after your death. But really, it's a lot of trouble and people would be stressed anyway, assuming you were a valued person, and of course I think everyone is. Don't you think your family in this situation would be under enough stress without suffering from your laziness? Get off your bum and do this. It's really important. So, a little bit of care, and then you can meet what I think are the unstated goals of estate planning, and that are, in the event of my death, I want my share of the estate to go to those I care for. I want my estate to bring benefit, not conflict. I don't want to prescribe everything. I want my relatives to deal with it sensibly. I don't want to pay a lot of tax. I don't want to pay a lot of estate management fees. I don't want people arguing over what's been left and causing deteriorations in their relationships. And I don't want to burden anyone. I want it simple. That last one, I want it simple, is the one that I've been dealing with. You can take the effort now to make the administration of your estate simple. Okay, that's really good. We'll be seeing you after the break. We'll be talking to Scott about estate planning from a practitioner level, and I'm sure you're going to find that spot useful. See you after the break.